Welcome to the Jann Arden Podcast. We are coming to you not from my Springbank home, which I usually am sitting with a barking dog and in the trees in Springbank, Alberta, which a lot of people call Spermbank, Alberta. And keep in mind, these are people that live in towns called Cochrane and Balzac, so don't forget that. Do you know what I'm saying? Caitlin Green is not in her Toronto abode. She is here. We are at the National Music Centre in downtown Calgary, Alberta. And Caitlin flew in. She cried when she left her son.
I did.
She got to the airport and started crying, leaving young Will behind, but then got to the airport quite early and had a beer.
I had a 23-ounce airport beer.
A 23-ounce airport beer. How big is that?
It's a big one. It's like a small silo, and it was not cheap. It was like $30, I think.
It was not.
Yeah, exactly. Boo to that.
$30 for a beer.
I know.
That seems really excessive.
Yeah.
But no, we're glad to be here. Do we have business right off the top? Because I'm not sure. Go.
We have some business. It's my first time in Calgary, so I'm really excited.
Unbelievable.
I don't tend to go west, and Jan, you've been telling me about it, and it's so beautiful, and I'm so happy to be here, and the welcome has been fantastic, and staying with Jan is so much fun. Oh my gosh, your house. I promise you guys for social, like we'll do a little bit of a tour. Probably tomorrow we'll do like the HGTV tour with you. But it's
that's news to me.
That's it. Yeah, she hasn't agreed yet, but now you have to.
No, I'm glad. I've been in this house for 19 years.
Crazy.
Which is the longest I've ever been anywhere. And much like, a lot of people in the music business, I was moving, maybe every 18 months, every 24 months, I was just moving. And when I finally built out there, and my parents moved on to that property with me, and they built a little granny cottage, a 2,400 square foot granny cottage. And it had a turret. My mom said, it's probably the last house I'm ever going to build, and I wouldn't mind having a turret. I'm like, what is that? What are you talking about? A turret? And she did. They built a little mini turret. But yeah, and I've been out there ever since. I either don't have the sense to move or the energy, but I think I will probably die there.
Yeah. I mean, not to go morbid, but
no.
I mean, nice place to die. Your gym is the size of my condo. For Toronto standards, I'm like, this is pretty good. Like when I go to bed at night at your house, I go into my little lair and we say goodbye at the stairs, and I say I'm going down to my lair now.
I had no sense of scale.
Yeah.
Like I had the builder showing me plans, and I don't know what that is. Like when they brought in the kitchen island top, it was made out of bamboo. I bawled my head off because I thought, oh my fucking hell, this is so big. And I will say, fast forward about 6 or 7 years later, I actually had Misha Brugger-Gossman stay at my house with her boyfriend, and they got really drunk. And when I came out of my bedroom the next morning, she was sleeping on the kitchen island. She had all the blankets and everything, and I'm like, what in Jesus? The microwave looked like it had been making things for people at the Calgary Stampede for 9 days. And I just have had so many adventures in this house, but I didn't have a sense of scale. Mm-hmm. So when people are showing you drawings, I don't know what 8 foot by, like I really didn't. And I was way over my head with the house like anybody else is. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to stay here. I guess I'll finish building the house. I'll figure out loans or something, because my contingency plan needed a contingency plan. Mm-hmm. And it was such a scary time. I was on the road with Michael Bublé, and I was going all over the world with him, and which was incredibly exciting. It was such a nutty time in his life. His star was rising at the speed of light. And I was going through Europe with him, and going through Australia, and going through the United States. And anyway, I had someone helping me put this house together. But I just thought, I'll sell it. I'll just sell it. I'll try and get it finished, and then I'll just find somewhere else to go. But I'm still there, and I still have a mortgage for another 9 years. I have to stay alive. I have a mortgage for another 9 years. When they told me, yeah, you'll be 72 when this is paid for. And I know how my parents felt.
Yeah.
Because I remember when they paid their house off after 30 years, they sat at the kitchen table and I think opened a little bottle of baby duck.
And now you have Misha Bruger-Grossman pass it on your counter.
She's the opera singer. She's incredibly talented. She was going through a divorce. And Misha, I'm going to tell this story.
I was just going to say, hey, Misha.
Get a lawyer. But and she was going through a divorce, and I knew her husband quite well, and Misha had gone through a lot of stuff. She had like a massive heart surgery, and she was on this. She was just living life, and I appreciate that. And she brought this fellow with her, which turned out to be, her lover, and she said a photographer who was documenting her life. And I'm like, we all need one of those. we need a lover photographic documenter. That's the new thing.
As you do.
And they got really, really drunk. I think I was still drinking in those days a little bit, but I had just gotten home from off the road, and I could hear them. I deadbolted my bedroom door, and there was like knocking on the door. Jan, come out. Come and play with us. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I have my period. And I'm not coming out. But anyway, and I remember phoning my friend Nigel. Welcome to the podcast, by the way. Yeah. We haven't touched one topic that's on those papers.
This is how it goes every episode. I have this, and we just.
But I did. I was like phoning my friend Nigel, and I just said, "This is what's going on. I have an opera singer and her photographic documenter in the hallway. They're pounding on my door." He goes, "Just bloody don't open it. Don't open the bloody door." And then it finally got quiet, but I did hear the microwave going for about 90 minutes, and they literally cleared out my freezer. Everything, like if there was like a spanakopita or a chicken wing or whatever was in there, it got microwaved. And it literally looked like they blew up. I don't know what blew up. I ended up getting rid of the microwave, and I love you, Misha. I also burned the sheets that were on that bed downstairs.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Very good. This feels like the right time to mention that we have a very esteemed special guest joining us tonight. That's right. Not only is he the beloved former mayor of Calgary, but he is also the current leader of the NDP party for Alberta. So later tonight, we're going to be joined by Naheed Nenshi. And okay, that's nice. Okay. Well, you've got some time to think about it. Not yet. And for everyone listening to the episode, what you're missing is that directly off to Jan's left is a giant, how would you even describe this?
I would say that is a magical box with a large velvet sheet draped over it.
Yeah.
It's approximately 8 feet high, 4 feet wide, and God only knows.
It looks like something a magician should have.
Yes.
It's very David Copperfield, and it's red
We're going to make Danielle Smith disappear. Do I know my people? Do I know my people?
Okay, so she's not hiding under it.
No, she's not.
But I think we're going to do it's a bit of a history lesson because obviously we're in the beautiful NMC building. There's so much amazing music history here. I've been referring to it lovingly as the Jann Arden Museum today because there's a lot of things related to Jann here. And so now we're going to do a little bit of a reveal. So there is an artifact of yours that is hiding underneath said set of drapes.
Just before COVID, they had an installation of me in here because I was being inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, which was such a great honor. Still can't believe it. But they had a couple of people come to my house and just take plaques and clothes and notebooks from songs, just stuff I won't do anything with it. I'm not really a very sentimental person. I love my dog, but as far as stuff goes, it's just not where my heart is. So I very gladly gave them a bunch of stuff, and what's in there is one of the things that they're like, well, we'd like to have that at the National Music Center.
And it goes all the way back to 1980.
Yes.
Okay.
1980.
So this is 1980. the year that you graduated high school. Okay. So now can we do the reveal of what's
going to happen? This is so exciting. For those of you listening at home, we have 8 people coming out to pull the velvet drape off of the glass case, and it is my grad dress. Which makes me so depressed. My mom made this for me. And I just remember her sitting at the sewing machine like 2 or 3 days before we were supposed to go. But I remember wearing the dress. My date, Stuart Richardson, who was a year younger than me, he pinned a little corsage on it. And I thought that the pin from the corsage was sticking me. But my mom had basted this dress, and there was about 19 pins all over it. And they really helped to keep me sober that night. But yeah, she made that, and it's such a weird thing to have any old piece of clothing in a glass case of any kind. It's a very strange feeling.
And there's a little picture of you on the front of it.
It's the first time I ever sang in public. So it was in this dress. I had written a song for my classmates. I can't remember it. I don't know what it was, but the guitar I played belonged to the band that played for the graduation party. And we rented the Palliser, and it was so expensive. We were in that ballroom, and I think back in 1980, it was like $180 to go to a grad.
Oh my gosh.
And it was ridiculously expensive. I think in today's money, that would be 40,000 Canadian dollars. But I got very drunk in that dress, and the following morning, I flew to Hawaii with 3 of my pals.
No way.
We were 18 going on 12. We were so naive. We were just so naive. We went, I think we flew and got a hotel room and split it between the 4 of us. It was like the whole trip was $350.
Okay, now that's a good price.
But we all lied. I said Teresa's mom said she could go. Elisa's mom said she could go. And the next thing we know, we're on some kind of a holiday plane. And people were drinking blue drinks all the way there. Anyway, I lived to tell the tale, and there it is. And
I kind of wonder when you play.
It's not a work of art. It's bad.
I like it. I think it's sweet. It's very.
It's so terrible.
And your mom made it. I like it.
She did.
It's so nice. When you're playing this song, wearing this dress, did you think to yourself, "Oh, I like this a bit, and I think I might try to keep doing this"?
I don't recall that being the feeling. No, I couldn't feel my lips. Oh, I was incredibly nervous, but the song was. I just sat in a chair and sang the song, and I had been playing songs since I was, 10 or 11 years old. My mom had a guitar, and we were members of the Columbia Record Club, and I'm still a member. Kathy, you know that, yeah, and. I just sat in the basement and played my mom's guitar and listened to records. So I had written probably, I'm going to say conservatively, 150 really terrible songs over a period of 4 or 5 or 6 years. And then I just decided, I'm going to sing something for my graduation class. So I wanted to be a school teacher. So this is all a big surprise to me.
That's so sweet. I can't imagine anyone having the guts, at least in my high school, to get up in front of all of their classmates.
There was 42 kids.
Okay.
So the Palliser Ballroom was empty. But there was 42 kids, and of course everybody brought a date. And I remember I had to ask Stuart Richardson to take me because it was like a week before grad, and no one had asked me. And so I asked Stuart, and I said, would you go to the graduation with me? And he said, yeah, but can I wait to see if somebody else asks me?
That's cold.
It's all right. I think Stuart died. I'm not kidding. I think he passed away from a heart attack like 10 years ago.
We should address that Sarah is sadly not here tonight. She is suffering from the world's biggest case of FOMO. So she couldn't be here. Note our empty
Are we allowed
chair.
to say what happened?
I think we can say what happened.
She's got shingles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, everyone knows how horrible shingles are.
And she's got it in her eye.
Oh, yep.
Everyone's doing that. I'm getting vaccinated on Monday or Tuesday. I'm getting vaccinated. I I know you have to do it 2 weeks apart, right?
Yeah, it's a round of 2 shots.
So everyone's saying, oh, the first shot's fine, but the second shot is hell. I'm like, Jesus, why are you telling me that?
This episode brought to you by the shingles vaccine.
But is it like stress? Why do people get shingles?
So that's what I've heard. I know that a lot of people get it from stress because if you've had chicken pox, then you have the virus in your body and it can sort of pop up when you're worn out. Or I know a lot of people who actually contracted COVID and immediately following their recovery from COVID, they got shingles. A bunch of my family members had that happen. And actually one of the podcasters who we were with earlier today at the podcast summit had the exact same thing happen. So she got COVID and then right after got shingles.
Anyway, Sarah, we're really...
Anyway, she's not here.
She's not here, and she feels really sad about it.
She has FOMO. We promised her that we would take a photo with everyone in the audience at the end. So we'll do like a selfie.
Absolutely, we absolutely will. Anyway, if you guys want to get a good look at that grad dress when the podcast is done, it's a memory that will live on forever.
Well, and the photo of you is really cute. And then a little behind the scenes, we were driving around Calgary today, and you were trying to explain this to your beloved. And we were trying to explain this to Thordis, that she was like, what do you mean your grad dress is in a glass case at the NMC? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And you were like, imagine how I feel.
Walking around that exhibit was the weirdest, surreal thing I've ever done in my life.
Because it's just a whole exhibit about you.
Well, just a lot of lyric books that I just looked at them. I'm like, I do not remember writing that down. I don't remember that coat. Did I give this to those people? Like, what is this? Like, it's just 45 years of stuff.
Yeah.
And it catches up on you because you don't realize, the passage of time when you're busy. And I'm going to bring this up because the Honorable Mr. Nenshi and I go back a long time. And I'm going to talk to him about that when he gets up here, but I just want to prepare you that I do want to talk about our origin story because it's so charming and it squishes my heart every time you and I have a chance to speak to it because we were very young and we had no idea what was around the bend. And those kinds of things I find so interesting about being a human being on the planet. You do not know what is going to happen to you. And, especially when you're in the middle of the shit and everything seems to be going wrong. And I'll just use the times that we seem to be finding ourselves standing in. Really, probably the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the pressure has just been this constant ache, I think, for all of us. It's just so much information. And, my mother would always say, no matter how difficult things seem or how terrible things seem, they're just not static. They just move. They constantly move. And as you get older, it's easier to kind of deflect the things that are difficult and hard. But the young man that I met a long, long time ago, had I known where he was headed, I would have been nicer to you.
But it is funny because I think about, my dad used to work in kind of like a music adjacent business. He was in distribution. And you went around when you were touring for the album Happy. And you went around his distribution office to meet people and shake hands. And they have a big warehouse full of CDs. And he swears, and we can't find it yet, but we swear that somewhere there's a photo of you with him. Oh. And there is a signed copy of Happy that we had in our household growing up.
Oh, wow.
And then to be like, oh, now we're here at the NMC. Like, now I'm here chatting with you on stage. Like, it is funny. You really don't know where you're going to go.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And how small the world is.
Yes.
The people that I've met and run into, over the years, time and time again, and where they say that they met me and where we were, it's always just so unbelievably fascinating. Case in point, Danny Kine is a talented actor that we've had on our show. She was in Workin' Moms, Winona Earp. Yes, thank you. She will appreciate that. Danny has slept with that individual that clapped. Oh, that's amazing.
Look at that.
Well, I rest my case.
Yeah.
And, but she's incredible, and we become friends. And she's a fair amount younger than I am. But anyway, years and years ago, I was in Ottawa, I think playing at the NAC, and it was probably the 90s, sort of the mid to 97, 98, and there was a group of girls in like the first 3 or 4 rows And they were just singing like super loud, every word, and the people around them were just not happy with the National Arts Center and these girls. So I stopped in the middle of like the fourth song, and I said, are you guys gonna do this like the whole show? Because we have to find a plan. Because I don't know if you've been microdosing something, but it was the 90s. It wasn't even a thing yet, was it? It was probably just beer and pot.
It was probably Mike's Hard Lemonade.
It was hash. They were smoking hash oil off a pin.
Yeah.
That's what was happening. But anyway, they said, someone screamed at me, we'll stop if you'll take a picture with us. I don't even think selfies were a thing yet. I think they literally had Instamatic cameras. So the security guy brought them up on stage. Well, it was Danny Kind. It was Danny and three of her friends. There's a photograph with her with a mullet, putting her arms around me and getting this photograph taken. Fast forward, I played her mother in Workin' Mums. And, she said a few days in, she goes, you and I have met before. And she pulls this picture out, very similar to our situation. But yeah, it's just so bizarre how you come across people.
Yeah.
I hosted the Junos in 1996, and then I did it again in 2016, 20 years apart. I worked with the same people from the same television crew, the same cameramen, the same woman that was helping me go around the building and getting me to dressing rooms. And I learned an invaluable lesson of be decent to the people you are working with.
Yeah.
And seriously, I literally was working with 20 years later, all the same people. Anne, I run into Anne all the time. She had wrangled me 40 times in my career.
And it is a small industry.
It's a small country.
Yeah, it is kind of.
It's amazing how 40 million people suddenly you just run into people.
It's true. Well, I think do we want to get to the story of you running into Naheed?
Yes.
Do you want to come up and join us? Yay.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, Caitlin, welcome to Calgary.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's your first time.
I heard you exclaim when I said that. I heard like a what off to the side.
It's wrong in so many ways.
It is.
I was on the show a year ago, and Jann let Caitlin ask all the questions because she kept saying, I don't know anything about Alberta, but... and we had such a good discussion. I was actually listening to it on the way here. I never, ever listen back to interviews that I do. I'm too embarrassed, but I was listening to it on the way here, and the thing that struck me was, for those who were big Jann Arden Podcast fans, you may remember that show a year ago, I was really sick.
Yes.
And so Sarah did a terrific job editing out all the coughs, but my voice never sounded sexier. So for those just listening now for the first time, no, this is what I really sound like. Before we get into this, can I tell a story about why I'm nervous on this stage?
Yeah, go.
So
we're
here at the National Music Centre, Studio Bell. It's a magnificent place. This is the Jamie Hill and Tammy Lynn's Power Memorial Stage. They're great community leaders. I know her son who donated that money. But I was here for the opening of the National Music Centre, which was on Canada Day. And so I came up on this stage, and there's a wall behind us, but it opens up to the entire building.
Yes.
So it's just a beautiful, beautiful architectural marvel of a building. And I come up on stage, and I start to make my little, I'm so happy to be here, happy Canada Day, everyone, et cetera, et cetera. And Andrew Mosker, who runs the National Music Centre, said, now you have to sing O Canada. So here's the thing. I'm in a band, but I don't sing or play any musical instruments I'm just the comic relief. And so I said, okay, how hard could this be? Because there's all these people here. They will sing. I just have to start them on the O note, whatever that means. So we got through it. And then I was taking photos of people and saying Happy Canada Day and so on. And that was when I realized that the microphone that I thought I had dropped to my chest was very sensitive and was in fact playing my voice through the entire building and out on the street. They've never asked me to sing O Canada again.
It's not an easy song.
No, it is not.
I mean, years ago I sang, and I don't know who invited me to do it, but the Flames were in the playoffs for once in their lives. And they had me sing "O Canada" at like game 6 or something. And back in those days, there was no earpiece. I couldn't hear myself. So on the television feed, it was a little bit pitchy, but I literally was hearing a delay of my voice. So I can't explain what happens when you sing in an arena like that with amplification. I'm hearing what I just sang
back at you
2 or 3 seconds after I've sang it. It's a really confusing, especially if you don't have the ear plugs. Yeah. And I had so many letters to the editor the next day that I should be kicked out of Calgary, and she's the reason they lost, and I mean, I was just horrified. And I've always said I'd never want to sing the national anthem. The only other time I sang it, and I said yes because it was at the All-Star NBA game in Dallas, Texas. And I was so proud. I thought, well, I did botch the hockey game. I can redeem myself. I got a nice little outfit. Chris, my road manager, and I went down there. It was so exciting. Like, it was the NBA All-Star game. And I went out and, of course, sang our anthem for Canada. I nailed it. I did really good. I just stood there. I had an earpiece in. And guess who sang it for the United States of America? Beyonce. She came out, they rolled out 4 fucking giant fans that were as tall as the glass case that my grad dress is in, and she stood there and her hairpiece was blowing in the wind, and she had like sparkly American flags going.
This is a very famous rendition. You can still see it on YouTube.
Oh my God, why am I not on there before her? So I do tell people that I opened for Beyonce. It's on my... But I just thought, it's so Canadian. I'm there in ripped jeans and this jacket. Oh, God. I'm so earnest. Like, I'm just singing my little heart out. I don't want to embarrass my country. And she comes out. I'm like, well, if that doesn't tell you a thing or two about what's different between Canada and the United States.
So what you're saying, Jann, is this is an inside joke, so I should never ask you to sing the national anthem at an event.
I will do it for you gladly. I've practiced.
All right.
I know it now.
But you know, I'm inviting Beyonce to come up with you, though.
Yeah.
She might not do it.
I suspect she will not be excited about my little gap.
So how you and I met. And some people know this story, but I love your version.
Sure. I'm going to back up a little bit from the story that we normally tell, because what you said was really touching to me about how you treat people. And so I have always been a crazy volunteer, and when I was at the University of Calgary, I volunteered for the Students' Union. It was my way to be cool. And one of the things that we had was a Friday afternoon music show. We called it Stress Management 201. In a room where you used to be able to smoke, it was called the Black Lounge. We called it the Black Lung.
I remember that, the Black Lung Lounge, yes.
And every now and then, we would have this magnificent young, not yet big, singer come out. And we had a guy, and people in the National Music Center will know him because he's a legend in the Calgary music community, called Greg Curtis. He was our programmer. And he loved this singer. She went on to great things. Of course, I'm talking about Sarah McLachlan. But there was another singer... Jann and I never get together, but that there's a Sarah McLachlan joke, because that's the basis of our friendship. We're basically the president and vice president of the anti-Sarah McLachlan fan club. And you just had her on the show.
We did.
And I thought you were very restrained.
Yeah.
In not telling her how we really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I tried to keep it under wraps. I really did.
None of this is true. The real story is that Greg Curtis asked the Students' Union if he could have some money. And he used the money to buy a beautiful makeup case that he wanted to present to this Jann Arden, because he said, she is so good, she is going to be huge, and I want her to always remember us. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. And you used it for years and years and
I
years.
still
right?
have it.
Do you really?
It's a Rolly anvil case, and it's got a mirror that folds out, and there's a plaque on there that said how many times I had played at the McEwen Hall Lounge, and I have it. I don't know why it's not in a glass case.
It should be here.
Here at the National Music Center. No, it still goes on tour. I think production gear goes into. I'm not kidding you. I think it still gets used. It's got foldy out things, and it's handy.
Yeah. And he just knew, and all he wanted to do was be a little part of the story of what he knew would be an incredible success story. So it's all how you treat people, right? And probably, Jann, you let the Students' Union co-pro you much longer than you should have when you were coming back to Calgary as well, which was a wonderful thing. But that's how I really knew Jann. She didn't know me. But I went to school in Boston. And in the summer of 1996, it was a big year for Jann Arden, right? Living Under June had really hit, and Sensitive was there. And there was one of these tours. I think radio stations still sometimes do these, where you have a tour of everyone who had a big hit that year. And they come and they do one or two songs, and then you go on. And we have decided, we don't know if it's true or not, but we have decided that Cher was on this tour. Do you believe in life after love,
She hadn't recorded that song yet. No, let's say it was Cher. I think it was Stevie Nicks, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was like Blues Traveler. There was just some really big bands that were happening at that time, and literally we crisscrossed all the time doing these radio promo tours.
And so this was a show in the Boston Common, and there were all these huge stars there. And a couple of my buddies had come down to visit me in my new life in Boston. I'd been there for, 2 weeks or something. And I said, guys, we got to go to this concert. And they were like, oh, Cher, Stevie Nicks, whatever. And I was like, no, Jann Arden. So we go, and she was amazing. She did Insensitive and Good Mother, and there was an autograph tent. So we went to the autograph tent, me and my two buddies, and one of them bought a CD. I already had the CD, so I wasn't going to buy another CD. I was a starving student. But my one friend had her sign his Alberta driver's license.
And I remember this.
And so there is a photo which we'll put up on the socials, because in those days, right, nobody had a camera with them. But my one buddy, Nick, who's a judge now, if you can believe it.
I can believe it. That life is so bizarre.
Was a photographer. And he would never go anywhere without his big camera. And years and years and years later, so then I got to know Jann many years later when I was mayor. And I told her this story, and she pretended to remember it, which was amazing. But years later, he was moving, and he found the photo.
Oh, my God. It is the cutest picture. We look so young, and just our eyes are looking at this camera. And did I not sign your driver's license, too, or no? What did I sign?
I think you signed my CD and his driver's license, I think. And I think I still have that CD.
But, yeah, we have this photograph of us, and once in a while, it comes up as a memory for me. And I'm just thinking, had we known standing there, I think about that sort of sliding door
Isn't that crazy?
theory. It really is. Yeah, I'm always very proud of you. I think being in public life is incredibly difficult.
And I have been the biggest Jann fan since those early days. I'll tell you one other funny story that I haven't told you, which is believe it or not, I'm not a huge live music guy, but if I like something, or someone, I'll see them over and over again.
Yes,
I'm embarrassed to tell you how many times I've seen Jann. In fact, she was playing a big tour this year for her new album Mixtape, which is fun and awesome. But I was in Edmonton when she was in Calgary, and I planned to go see her in Edmonton, and it happened to be the night of my election. And my team told me, absolutely not. And I said, well, what else am I going to do? They're counting the votes. I could be sitting in the audience listening to Jann. It'll be awesome. And I was forbidden, but I was very excited that Jann played this wonderful venue in the Badlands Amphitheater in Drumheller later this summer, where I'd never been before.
That was fun.
And so there's another singer I really love who is Holly Cole. And she happened to be playing in Calgary earlier this week. And I was there, and a woman walked up to me and she said, I love your taste in music. And I said, what taste in music? And she said, I sat next to you at Jann Arden, and now here we are at Holly Cole. And I said, well, look, and these are my two favorite singers, Holly Cole, of course, being my favorite. And here we are together. This isn't about my undying love for you, right?
No,
Jen?
no.
We're going to talk about other things.
I have been so drunk with Holly Cole when I used to drink. I mean, the Much Music days were absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
That building on Queen and John, one clap, get out. And
He was there with you. That's
he
why
was
you
there
managed
with me.
one clap.
Yeah, I remember that. But it was the building. It was just so insane. The video days in that building, and that was right around the time that you and I were crisscrossing paths.
I wonder who's seen more of Alberta, because I feel like the two of you.
She has.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Well, though the last year, there's been a lot of Alberta, and it's been one of the most wonderful blessings.
Tell us about. They're not town halls. They're a little different than that. What have you been doing? I know you've been going to different. You've been to Red Deer. You've been to Okotoks. You're going to a lot of different places, and you're just talking to people. Are they coming in kind of like this, a group of a couple hundred people? Walk us through what you're doing.
800 in Calgary.
Okay.
The other night, was it just last night? They're all running into one another. About 200 in Okotoks. And this is a really interesting thing because there is another set of town halls going on in Alberta right now that do not fill you with hope for humanity. They're more heat than light, shall we say. And they're a series of folks grabbing the mic and getting 90 seconds and sometimes asking questions, sometimes talking about their lives, but also sometimes saying really awful, hateful things. And the premier pretends she has no opinion on these things and sits at the front and kind of smiles and nods. And it just feels wrong. It just feels divisive and difficult and starting a fire. We talked about this a year ago and it's still continuing. Starting a fire that can't be put out. So a lot of this is about the concept of Alberta separating from Canada. So we thought we're going to do something a little different. And we started this thing that we called the Better Together Summer. And it's now leaking into the autumn, which is great. People can find out more at bettertogethersummer.ca. But it really was an opportunity for people to come to talk about how we can be better together. And it started as sort of a reaction to separatism. But it's turned out to be so much more than that. We have not just done these community gatherings, but we have knocked on tens of thousands of people's doors, talked to them on their doorsteps, gone to dog parks and music festivals and anywhere people are gathering with their neighbors. And what people are really telling us is, yes, Alberta is better together with Canada, we get that. But in these times of huge divisiveness and division and anger and everyone's so mad all the time, people are looking for an opportunity to say, we are better when we stand with our neighbors, that we are better together in every way. And this has been just a remarkable thing of people sharing their stories, talking about how we can do better. And we don't do them like traditional town halls. What I always say is, tonight, I'm taking you to church. And I don't mean that I'm going to preach, because I will, but also, you're going to talk to your neighbors. So they vote on what they want to talk about. Say it's healthcare or pensions or education. And then I say, all right, turn your seats around. Talk to the 5 or 6 people around you. And then we're going to do it again with new groups of people. And we do that over an evening, and people make friendships. They find common ground. People who started out disagreeing start to see one another's point of view. And it's just a physical embodiment of what I truly believe, that as Canadians, we kind of understand this in our gut, that we are better when we are together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So one more in Grand Prairie this week. And then we'll start doing this in a different way through the fall and winter.
What is it like being the leader of the opposition party in this province? And the second part of the question is, how do you deal with the vitriol? How do you deal with a constant barrage of people trying to diminish you, intimidate you, just kind of yell into space, like public life, like I was mentioning before, but It's incredibly difficult to do these jobs.
I was really happy that on the way here I had a chance to listen to our conversation from last year, because we had this exact same conversation.
Yeah.
And it gives me the opportunity to reflect on what's different. Because a year ago I wasn't in this job. A year ago I had, just come out of my glorious, beautiful, wonderful retirement to get back into this. And people always say, well, especially Calgary folks will always say to me, oh, you're just a politician at heart, right? It's in your blood. You had to get back into it. Or my favorite, I always knew. And I'm like, well, if you always knew, why didn't you tell me? Because there was no push. There was no, I feel like I got to be.
You and I had lunch at Uno, and you were you were talking. You're like, I might.
That was
throw
at Christmas time. That's right.
I might throw my hat in the ring, and I'm like, oh God, yes, please. Also, I was really concerned for your wellness and your safety. Yeah, we had lunch.
Because for me, it wasn't a push. It was very much a pull. I said it backwards. It wasn't a pull that I needed to be a politician. It was very much a push that the stakes are so high.
Yeah.
And things are going so off the rails. And it's not just about political disagreement anymore. I like this party, I like that party. It's a fundamental discussion about who we are and who we are capable of being. And, I looked at it and I was a mixture of worried and angry about the direction that we were going in, because Alberta, for better or worse, leads. And so if we lead in a bad direction, others will follow. And I thought to myself, somebody's got to do something. And when you say somebody's got to do something, too often that somebody becomes, I got to do something. And so you and I remember now that we had this conversation before I had made a decision.
Yeah.
And what you were basically saying is, I'm worried about you.
Yes,
and I'm worried about your safety.
I said that.
But then you also said, but you have skills. And I thought about that, right? And I thought, well, if you didn't sing, it would be a loss to the world to not share what you have been given. And in my mind, I thought, look, I've done lots. I was 11 years as the mayor of Calgary. We did great things. I went to a thing yesterday for the 20th anniversary of the anti-poverty strategy. Enough for all, we call it. And one of the people who was giving kind of a historical story was saying, we were at the forefront of poverty reduction and helping people living in poverty. We were doing things no one else in the world was doing, and we were making huge differences. And I thought, where's that ambition? Right? Why are we so defensive all the time? Like life will never be better than it is today. Because we lead. Canada leads. And we need to have that ambition again. And if I can do a little tiny bit in doing that, that's sort of, I'm going to do this. But in listening to the interview from a year ago when I had just launched, and you very astutely, actually, Caitlin, you very astutely asked me, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
And I said, what I'm worried about is that I'm going to be too good at it, which sounds like a strange thing to say, because I had talked about how I've always tried to be a nonpartisan politician, how I wear purple every day, I still do, because it's a combination of red and blue, which doesn't necessarily mean I'm a political centrist, but it means it's an invitation to abandon our ideology and come into our common humanity. And I said, that's totally out of style. And it's not how politics is done these days, but what I'm worried about is you get me into a partisan position and I will become that. I think what I said is partisanship will eat me. And I've got to get people like the folks in the room here, like yourselves, to keep me honest, to remind me about why I'm doing this work and who I'm doing this work for. Because the world that I live in right now is not at all that. And, I can be big P political about it and say, we have a government that is kind of shocking to me. I've been in politics as a public official for 15 years now. I've been a student of politics my whole life, and I've never seen a government like this. A government that I just feel like every day has no interest in governing, just has an interest in scoring political points and not worrying about the consequences.
Well, there's a lot of distractions.
Well, yeah, I'll give you
there's things like, oh, look over there, and then this happens. It's quite deceiving.
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. You graduated about 9 years before I graduated from public school in Alberta. And you and your 42 fellow graduates at Springbank High School benefited from one of the very best public education systems in the world, as did I, in Queen Elizabeth High School in central Calgary. I grew up very poor, and I don't pretend that I didn't work hard. We worked really, really hard. But it would be really foolish of me to say that the success that my family and I have been lucky enough to have was because we worked really, really hard. Lots of people work really, really hard. But we also had the intense privilege of working really, really hard in a community that wanted us to succeed. So think of Peter Naheed in 1971 when he became the Premier of Alberta. What was Alberta in 1971? It was a pretty small place in the middle of the frozen prairies, and this guy...
I think Calgary was a city of about 370,000 people, yeah.
And this guy, who was a patrician guy, his grandfather had been a senator, it was one of the biggest families of Alberta, he was a Harvard Business School graduate, he played football for the Edmonton Eskimos, and he showed up and he talked about ambition. And two of his ambitions is we are going to have the best medical schools and the best public health system, and we're going to spend money on medical research, and we're going to cure diseases right here in Alberta, and we're going to have the best public education system in the world so that kids here will be able to compete with anyone in the world, and people will want to move here and invest here and put their kids in the public school system here. And we benefited from that, and generations of students benefited from that. But this year, I did a very politician thing the week before school started. So what politicians do, I've just been taught this. You show up on the day when the teachers come back, and you bring donuts. So I did that. And just to say, have a great school year. And it was a horrible day, because these teachers had just been through the worst staff meetings of their lives. They had just been told that they have to ask every girl, not the boys, just the girls.
Yeah, this was epic.
Over the age of 12 to prove their biological sex before trying out for any team. So this was produced a year ago. It's one of the things that got me into politics. Because they're protecting girls in sport. But they never thought about what does that mean? How do you implement that? And the way they ended up implementing it was by presuming that every girl is lying, by putting the burden on truth on every teenage girl to prove their gender. How humiliating is that? How much is that going to keep girls out of sports who could really benefit from being in sport? At that time as well in Edmonton, where I was delivering the donuts, they had just received a list of all the books that they had to take off their shelves. And
people that ban books don't read.
Right?
Yeah.
Just remember that. They don't read. They have no idea what they're banning.
And these teachers they'd given up. They were just packing up boxes and taking all the books in their classrooms that had been collected there over many, many years.
The kite runner.
They were just taking them home.
That was a fucking hard one, hey?
Yeah.
The kite runner.
1984.
Jesus.
Brave New World.
The list was just unbelievable. Well, I rage against that as much as I can on social media.
And so here's the thing. You're causing all this stress. You're causing all this anger. You're causing all this fear.
But that's the distraction I'm talking about.
But at the same time, you're distracting people from the fact that Alberta, which is still the richest province, our government forever tells us how bad things are here, but we're still the richest province, and we spend the least on public education. Our classrooms have never been larger. They've never been more complex. Students are no longer succeeding. The new curriculum is failing. By the way, you guys will love this part. A kindergarten teacher told me that she was trying to adopt to the new curriculum that they put out for kindergarten. And the section she was having trouble with was the section that differentiated between leaders and helpers. And if you are not a leader, it is your duty to help and follow the instructions of the leader. This is what we're teaching kindergarten kids.
What?
And so the distraction, I hate to tell you this, is working because it's distracting us from the real things that we need to focus on as a community. And when we think about the real basic, simple promise of this place, one that we all take for granted, it's that Naheed, growing up in Northeast Calgary, no matter what he looks like or where he comes from or how much money his family has or how he worships or whom he loves, is welcome here. and deserves to be here and deserves to be successful and thrive here, and it's our job to make sure that happens. And so you ask me, why am I back in this world? Because at least for a little part of my day, every single day, I can do my tiny part in fulfilling that promise for people. But there's a lot of hate out there.
Yeah.
You know that. I know that.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
When an issue like do the humane thing and stop the export of live horses becomes an excuse to personally attack people who are saying things that are very commonsensical, I'm talking about someone in particular here, we know, and this is what we talked about a year ago, we know that the discourse isn't working.
Yeah.
But the thing that really made a difference for me this summer in talking to those people across Alberta about how we're better together is what helped me understand that most people, shockingly, don't spend their lives following politics. Now less so than ever, because they're frustrated by it. But most people just want to live a good life. Most people want a great future for not only for their kids and for their grandkids, but for their neighbors' kids and their grandkids. They want this to be a place that people can be proud of. And I think much too often as Canadians, we are complacent. We take this for granted. This is a special place. It's not a perfect place. There's lots of stuff wrong with this country. It's big and it's messy and it's bruised and sometimes it feels a little bit broken, but it's still the best place on earth.
Oh my God, I've traveled so much in my life. I get back in Canadian airspace and I'm like so grateful to be home. I get asked constantly about, where do you live? I'm like, I live just outside of Calgary. I've been here my whole life. And they're so shocked. Like they're so shocked that I've stayed here. And I've stayed here because I think it's important to keep the arts in these communities. I'm very for that. No, it's true. I think I grew up, you were talking about, the Naheed government. I, started school in 1968 or something. And I had music programs. I had music teachers and art programs and sports, and we had band. And, you talk about a really small rural school. It's unbelievable what these 42 people went on to do. Keeping in touch with people in Facebook, these were high performance, unbelievably talented and successful people. Without exception, almost all of them. From a small rural school that just had teachers rolling up their sleeves, teaching a curriculum that worked. And I just want to go back to reading just for a moment. The reason that I'm in the arts or a songwriter or able to participate in my community the way I do is because of how much I read as a child and how much I read now. It let me travel to places I couldn't have fathomed living in Springbank, Alberta. It changed the way I thought about other people. It changed the way I went through the world. And my parents were huge readers. So when all this book banning shit started, I thought, how do we stop it? And we stop it by getting involved in the small things. When you talk about doing a little bit every day, whether it's me ranting against separatism and getting death threats and telling me that they're going to show up in Drumheller and they're going to unalive me and things like this, I'm like, well, we'll see you there. There's still seats available. You might enjoy it.
And of course...
But you have to step up. No, nobody showed up. But the thing of it is, and maybe it's just an age thing, but I'm not frightened about expressing an opinion. And my manager, Bruce Allen, is here tonight. Another one of my, yes, thank you.
The legendary Bruce Allen.
Yes. And an amazing woman I also work with at Bruce Allen, Nancy Emery, is here. And they just flew out to come and see this show tonight because that's what they do. They're helping me navigate new things in my career. There's a lot of things that go into it. But, my point being is that you have to set aside the idea of being attacked or admonished on social media. You have to set it aside. Oh, I don't want to get involved because I just can't handle the comments. Start handling the comments. Start just throwing your shoulders back and stop worrying about people that are only doing it to diminish you, scare you off. They don't know what they're yelling about to begin with. It's just people echoing things. When they retweet things, they usually haven't even read them. A lot of times you're prompted, do you want to read this story before you retweet it to your people, all 2 of them? But don't be afraid to have people hurling shit at you. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Say whatever you want to say to me. It's not going to move me off of what I know to be right in my heart. And it might not be for everybody, and people talk about, oh, shut up and sing, and that whole thing that the Dixie Chicks faced, 15 years ago. Music is political. Art is political. It has been for millennium. It's about how we express ourselves. So that's just something I do want to leave you with. Don't be afraid to express your opinions on social media. Don't be afraid of losing fucking followers. Use it to our advantage of letting people know what your heart is and what you think about. Complacency and being, just sitting back and letting other people do the heavy lifting. It's like, who's going to do it? That's what I used to think too. Like, who's going to say something about the horses? I will do it. Yeah. And I've received, I'm not virtue signaling. I'm just saying it's a grotesque thing. And I've been doing it for 10 years, and we're slowly making headway. And in Canada now, where we started with it, with some incredible people that I've worked with, everyone knows what live horse export is now in Canada.
I sure didn't before you started.
No, nobody did. And, it's still happening, but it's about half of the horses are going over now. Oh. So they have been affected by people being aware of what they're doing. Anyway, just be brave and express an opinion. Don't sit on the fence. Apathy is killing us. To think that it's somebody else's problem and I don't want to deal with it. I just want to sit and have my quiet life. I'm not going to sit and have my quiet life. When I was talking about Bruce, we have a conversation once a week. He's like, Jesus Christ, Jann. Did you have to? I've actually had Anne Murray phone me. Jann, it's Anne. Can you please stop talking about the separatists? You're giving me an aneurysm over here. Because she worries about me. And I'm like, I can do it.
Well, that's it, right? People worry about us.
Yeah.
But I want to say 2 maybe slightly contradictory things.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with the bad one, which is we do have to, though, not minimize the fact that in these divisive and angry times, hate and increasingly violence are being weaponized. We have to understand that this is a product of the divisive system that's been created. And we talked last time, I put my tinfoil hat on, about the fact that this divisiveness didn't just happen. It's not because social media exists or Elon Musk does what Elon Musk does with X. It was designed this way. It was deliberately designed by political actors who, using early machine learning and AI,
the algorithms,
and all of this.
Yeah, the algorithms discovered that there's a great, and go back and listen to a year ago's show and I explain it in a little more detail. I won't get into it now. But that there's a great benefit in getting a base super riled up and working with you rather than appealing to everyone. And people do it all over the place. But this is the result. This is what happens when you increasingly force people to be us versus them. So, Bruce worries about you. Anne worries about you. I love that. My family and my staff and my volunteers worry endlessly about me. As well they should, because somebody's got to do it, because you and I are the kind of people who are not paying enough attention to things that are really could be a problem. But you got to get on the stage, and you got to do the work, right? I mean, I'm not going to start even thinking about that.
But the other side of it is what you were saying, which I think is really, really important. I always, every time I speak to a group, I always get asked the question, well, what can I do? And, I'll say things like, well, you got to vote. You've got to understand that you fix this with a better government. And to do a callback to earlier in the show, if you want Danielle Smith to disappear, guess what? You have the power to make Danielle Smith disappear.
You got to vote.
You got to vote. You got to get engaged. But more important than that, you've got to bridge divides with your friends and neighbors. So you got to be able to talk to the other parents on your kids' sports teams. You got to talk to your coworkers, to people in your churches and temples and faith communities where you volunteer. And I always get lots of seniors at my events, so I say at Aquasize and pickleball. And I asked a senior if I was being stereotypical, and she said, no, that is exactly where I spend my time. But you don't want to be the person no one wants to stand next to in the Aquasize pool, because you won't shut up about politics. But what you want to be is the person that's asked good questions like, are you better off now than you were before? What would you like to see in the world? What are your dreams for yourself and for your kids and your grandkids? And those could be economic arguments. It could be about jobs. It could be about the environment. It could be about education or healthcare or sustainability. But we've got to get back in this world where we help people understand that human beings, luckily, thank God, where we live,
even asking
have the
how
power.
they are. Even asking
Ask
how
people how
someone
they're doing.
is.
How are you doing?
What are
Yeah.
you doing? I have a neighbor that lives at the end of my road. His name's Mark. He's very right-wing, and he's a hunter, and he's kind of the antithesis of me. And we really get along. We get along great. And I'm just saying, I know what his politics are, and it's kind of wink-wink. I always give him a hug. He does a lot of stuff for me around my place. He chops wood and he moves brush, and he's like, I'm going to come down and move some of that stuff because I worry about fire along your fence. And, just things like that. And he makes fun of me for being liberal. He makes fun of me for, stuff. But he's got a good, kind heart. And I had to really sit myself down and look past. I'm like, how should I be feeling about this? And I've known him for years. He's lived down the end of my road. And I bring him a bottle of whiskey at Christmas. And he's always, asking me to come in, and I'm always on the run all the time. He's a good guy. And fundamentally, we both want the same things. And that was a lesson to me, because I just thought, well, everything is telling me, social media or social pressure to split myself out from that. And I've learned such a good lesson from Mark, because I'm not going to. He's the first guy to call me when there's a bear coming down the road. I know that sounds nuts, but he'll phone, he'll go, you got your little dog in the house? There's a bear coming your way. And here's an example of Mark. I did a photo
Welcome
shoot.
to Alberta.
I did a photo shoot on my road. I've taken thousands of pictures of my road over the years. And I had my photographer and his assistant fly in from Toronto, and we were doing a photo shoot for a book that I'd written called If I Knew Then. And I had run into my house to get another jacket. So I'm leaving these two tattooed men with like these little tank top shirts on. They're quite gay. And very gay. They're very gay. And it was a sunny day, and they were out there, and we had a chair in the middle of the road. There's no one driving down there. I start getting these frantic buzzes on my phone, and I'm changing a shirt, and I'm putting boots on. I'm getting changed. I'm like, oh, maybe this outfit will work. And it's the photographer, Elkin, and he's going, there's a guy here on a all-terrain vehicle with a shotgun. Mark. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's fucking Mark. Hang on a second. And Mark, he said, well, I seen the cameras, because they've got cameras on the road, and they went by, and then he was kind of, I don't know how, he spotted these guys just standing outside my gate. And he would have none of it. Like he says, if you're ever in trouble, he taught me how to shoot my .22 rifle. He came down, it was my dad's, we loaded it up, and he had me shoot it into some hay bales. And he said, if you get into trouble here, if you ever get into trouble, you call me, then you call the police. And I thought, if I can see across the divide into this man's heart, and he knows that I'm a queer person, he knows that I probably don't represent anything that he's used to, but he's bent his rules for me too, because he likes me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's gotten to know me, and he knows that He knows me. He knows my character. He knows I'll show up for him. And, come and take any wood you want, Mark. Like, just come down. You've got the gate code. Come and take it. But anyway, he scared the shit out of Elkin and his assistant. And when I ran out to the gate, Mark was there, just had his hand on his gun.
Just watch it.
With a giant fucking German Shepherd sitting on the back behind him, waiting to kill someone. But this dog is so gentle. But I'm just using that as an example because we are at such different ends of the pool, but we aren't really. So in a bigger way, I think we have to start looking past the yelling and the rhetoric and the politics and stop long enough to hear what we're saying to each other, because I think it's the same thing maybe when it all calms down. And it's so fear-based. But I know we're running out of time. I just want to thank you for public service. I want to thank you for sticking your neck out and being a real voice of reason. I respect and admire you so much.
Thank you.
And I think it's incredible what you've done with the NDP party. They have never had a bigger membership since the beginning, the inception of the NDP party. And yeah, that's because of you.
Well, thank you so much. And as a capital P politician, I would say, okay, now your next job is to get Mark to change how he votes. So do that. But more important...
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe I need to sleep with him. And whisper sweet nothings into his ear.
Look, the political stakes are high, Jann. That's all I'm saying. The political stakes are high.
And I think I'll have to be super high.
But ultimately, what you're talking about is really what it's all about. If we can bridge those divides again, I'd love to say politically, well, then people will see that I'm the reasonable one, and yes, they'll vote for me, and I hope they do. But by and large, if we can bridge those divides and start to have conversations as human beings on what's really matters, so the hard stuff becomes easier.
Yeah. I think we need to get better at listening. I just don't think anyone's listening to anybody. And we see that on a much bigger scale as far as the stuff going on in the world, the horrific things that we're seeing every day. No one's listening to anybody. But I think getting to know a person I have made so many judgment calls in my life where I've been wrong and made assumptions. And I don't want people making assumptions about me. I want them to get to know me. But I think in order to do that, you have to be vulnerable and you have to let people get to know you. And it's a risk. Some people are not going to some people don't like what I say. I use this as an example. This morning, I was somewhere, I don't know if it was Calgary or Toronto, and a kid went by me on a skateboard. It was years ago. And he went by me and he just looked at me, his eyes just hung on me, and he stopped about 10 feet away and he flipped his board up and he came back and he goes, "Yeah, you're that chick that you sing that fucking insensitive tune? That's you, right?" And I'm like, yes it is. He goes, "Well, I hate your music, but I really like you."
That's amazing.
So
it's like almost sweet.
So when you think about that, when you're able to separate out things that you don't like about a person and try finding things that you do like about them, because it's easy to find the things that you don't like. It's what we go looking for. It's what we go hunting for. And we've got to start looking for things we like. There's got to be some kind of common ground. Two people sitting and talking to each other. There's a lot of hopefulness. This will shift. I don't think where we're headed is going to last. I think we have good men like this man who's willing to put his life on the line, put his physical life on the line to make change. But don't give up and don't be disheartened. Don't be diminished by things. And as you get older, it gets easier because you'll start doubting yourself less. But your opinions are important, and what you think is important. Lay down your ideas of what you think a person is. Make sure you at least try and get to know them. I believe in people, and I like them. And it's why I'm still doing this. I could have quit 10 years ago and gone, you know what, I just don't want to deal with any of this stuff. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to have a quiet life. And I'm never going to have a quiet life. I'm never going to shut up. I'm never going to stop. Don't lose hope. There's good people out there and great things happening. And we live in a great place. And let's keep kicking ass. We'll see you next time. Toodly-doo.